Hi, how are you? My name is Houston and welcome back to another video. As you can guess from the title of this video, there isn't going to be any gaming in this one, but it's more going to be me recapping my 6-hour ultramarathon that I did a couple weeks ago. First, I want to say that I should have released this video maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, at most a week after I did the run, but I went to 2 weddings since I did it, and I got COVID, and yeah, I now haven't really got the chance to sit down and properly go over my feelings about the race or challenge, more like, and really reflect on why I did it and what I think that it maybe taught me about both running, racing, challenging myself, and anything that might fall under or near that umbrella. So first off, if you don't know who I am, if you're new here, or if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I am just a normal 7 to 5 construction worker guy who loves playing video games and loves exercise. I was never really a runner growing up, but around like the age of 21, like 8 years ago, I decided that I was tired of looking at myself in the mirror and having twig arms and twig legs, and I started exercising. So I actually started going to the gym. I got over the fear of people watching me lift weights, and I mean, most people, I think, that have never gone to a gym, I would say that that is a very significant hurdle for them. At least it was for me. I was very insecure about, I could barely curl like 10, 15-pound dumbbells. If you don't care what people think of you, which, there's a line there where it really matters or it doesn't. For most people, it's really hard because you feel like, even though this isn't true at all, because nobody cares what you're doing in the gym, but you feel like people are watching you. You feel like you have to be where everybody else is instead of start where you are. Like, you always want to start where you want to be, not where you are. And I think that that is applicable with pretty much any sort of skill that you're trying to cultivate, whether that be exercise, whether that be playing an instrument, learning a language, whatever. Growing up, I never really ran a lot except for in school. I was a try-hard running in the mile, and I really just wanted to be the fastest person. I did have a competitive nature, but I was too embarrassed to actually join any of the track or field teams because I didn't want to mess up in front of everyone, which is completely ridiculous. I mean, looking back now at almost age 30, it's like, if you're that kid, if you're worried about messing up in front of everybody, like, failure's part of life. You're always going to fail, at some point at least. So if you don't quite make it, that's okay. Just use that to motivate you to get better, try harder, and focus on achieving something the next time you try it. Like 99% of the time, there's gonna be a point where you can take another stab at whatever it is you failed at. Fast forward to 2020, my gym closed down because of, the pandemic. And I was like, well, if I don't exercise, if I can't lift weights, I got to do something because my mental is going to spiral out of control. And I'm probably gonna feel the wave of anxiety and depression that I finally basically fixed, and it's just going to come crashing down on me like a huge tsunami. So I thought back to those high school days, and I thought, well, I always wanted to be fast. Like I wasn't a bad runner. So I just started running again. 3 miles was about the limit, and I was just going as hard as I possibly could, which is, if you know anything about running, that's like just not the way to do things. And I'm definitely no expert now, but that's the biggest mistake that new runners probably make. They think they have to go as hard as possible to get faster, but that's not really how things work. That ceiling of 3 miles eventually turned to like 5, and then 6, and then 8. And one day I ran 10 miles, and then I thought to myself, if I can run 10 miles, I can probably run a half marathon. I mean, because that's, it's only 3 more miles, which, again, it's funny to look back and see how my ceiling was 3 miles, and then I ran 10 miles once, and it probably didn't even feel good, if I remember correctly, but I ran that 10 miles, and then I thought to myself, well, I can run 3 more miles, which is just ridiculous. I mean, the human ego is just out of control. So one day after work, I get home at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it's a summer day. The sun was going to be out longer. And I put my running clothes on, lace up my shoes, and I get out there and I just crush that half marathon. Like, no, I did not. I not even close. I think I probably ran for about 9 miles, and then I did like a walk jog for the last 4. So I did finish it. But it was not pretty. And I was in a considerable amount of pain, not to the point where I injured myself, but to the point where I thought, well, this is not how I expected things to go. I thought, well, I did finish it. That's a good sign. So I told myself that in like 3 weeks, I would do it again, but I was going to try and take it slower. I was going to try and run at a decent pace the whole entire time. And I was just going to try and avoid walking at all. So I just told myself, okay, I don't want to stop. So however slow I have to run in order to do that, that's what I'm going to do. And I did it. And I'm pretty sure I ran like a 1:47 or something like that, which honestly, I don't even know good half marathon times now. I don't pay attention to any of those times, but I'm pretty sure it would be around like 1:15 or sub 1:15. And if you know better than I do, go ahead and quote me on that. But back then, I had no idea what would be fast or not. Like I said, I set a goal for myself to just basically finish it without having to stop. I didn't want to replicate what happened the first time. Again, that human ego is so powerful that I thought, well, if I ran a half marathon and I did it without stopping, I'm sure that I can just keep getting better at running, because that's generally what happens when you just do something consistently. And I told myself that if I can do a half marathon, I could just do that twice and then I can run a whole marathon. So like a week later, I signed up for my first marathon. Long story short, I ended up running a 3:47. And while that's not fast by, like competitive means, that is a time that I was happy with at that point in my running journey. And if you saw one of my videos from around like April or May, you saw that I ran a 3:24. So I ran that sub 4-hour marathon the first time I did it. And again, like with the half marathon, that was my goal. All I told myself was, okay, I don't want to be the fastest person. I don't even know what a good marathon time is. But I typed in on Google, average marathon time for men age, how old was I? I was like 26, 27. And it said, oh, the average time is like 4:05 or something like that. It's probably within like 10 minutes of that. I don't know. So having read that, all I told myself was I want to get a sub 4-hour marathon. And I did it. That was my only goal. I wasn't racing against anybody but that goal that I set for myself. I've done 5 endurance races at this point in my running journey. That first one being that 3:47. The second one being, God, what was it? I think it was a 3:43, and then a 3:52, 3:52 at the Seattle Marathon last November. And then my fourth race was the 3:24 marathon. And I told myself that I wanted to run a sub 3:30 because after running a 3:43, that seemed like the next logical step. I should be able to shave 13 minutes off my PR. And not only did I get a sub 3:30, but I beat it by 6 minutes, which felt amazing. And that's still amazing for me to think about. My next goal with a marathon is to run a sub 3. So shaving 24 minutes off, that's going to involve quite a bit of work, but that's later on down the road. I'm sure we'll document that. The fifth and final one is part of what this video is about. All of this to preface this 6-hour ultramarathon that I self-imposed. The quick background for this race and why I put it on myself would be that in Seattle here, we have an area called Green Lake, and Green Lake is this lake, and it's like in the middle of the city, and there's an asphalt path around the lake, and it's like a park as well, like all the way around it. Then there's a gravel path around the outside edge, but whatever. In April, May, we have an event called Dizzy Days, and Dizzy Days has a 6 and a 12-hour sign up. So you can run around Green Lake as many times you can, get as many laps in as you can in either 6 hours or 12 hours. And it just depends on whichever one you sign up for. I wanted to do that as my first ultra marathon. Ultra distances are like 50K, 50 mile, 100K, 100 mile, you know, and up and up and up into the fucking psychopath distances. But they also have timed races. So it's like go around a loop, the same exact loop for like 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. There are relay type events around the same loop. So there's a lot of variability with ultramarathons. It's not just distance, it's also time related. And part of the psychosis and the mental battle of these timed ones is that you are running the same loop over and over and over again. Some of them, like there's this one near me at this place called Carkeek. They have like a 1.2 or 1.7 mile loop, and they have a 6 and a 12 and I believe a 24 for that race as well. So imagine running a 1.2 mile loop for 12 or 24 hours, even 6 hours straight. That is a mental battle that many people would probably lose. That's the challenge, right? It's not just the strain you're putting on your body. It's about what you're able to endure up here. When Dizzy Days was going on, I couldn't do it because I had already signed up for the marathon that I ran the 324 at. So I told myself after I ran that marathon that I was going to do my own Dizzy Days, pretty much. So I was going to show up at Green Lake on a Saturday in July, and I was just going to create an aid station out of my car, and I was going to run around Green Lake, do as many laps as I could for 6 hours. All of that brings us to this video right here. So I ended up doing it, and long story short, I ran for the whole 6 hours, and I ran 31.6 miles. So just a little bit over a 50K. If I remember right, a 50K is 31.06. So yeah, just that little bit more. My goal for it was to obviously just finish. Like that seems to be the goal at first with most ultramarathon runners. It's like you just want to finish, right? So if you got to be out there for 6 hours, you want to be out there the whole entire time. Or like I got a 50-mile race on September 21st. So my goal for that is to just finish. I'm really trying not to focus on anything timing related for that one. For this 50K, I was thinking to myself, why do I want to do this? Like, what made me want to sign up for this? Because nobody that I know is doing anything like this. I mean, you see people online that do it. Like, you might be watching me right now and you're like, well, why would somebody do that? And that's a great question. It might be some deep-rooted childhood trauma or not feeling good enough ever in my life, or feeling like I can never really accomplish anything. So here I am doing these things to sort of put myself through the trials of life in a way where I can't experience them somewhere else in my life. That's a bit psychoanalytical, but I think at the end of the day, like at a very surface level interpretation, it's just that it feels good to do hard things. And it feels especially good to do hard things when you train your mind to enjoy them. Because I think for the most part, most people don't enjoy this stuff right off the bat. Like, it's something that you have to cultivate. Like I was talking about earlier, you don't only cultivate skills to get better at them, but you're cultivating this mental hardness. You're watering the plants of resilience in your mind in order to run faster or run longer or really just endure. Like, right? That's the word. you're enduring. I remember repeating this to myself multiple times while I was running. I recently finished Rich Roll's book, Finding Ultra, and his buddy Jason that he did that he did like Ultraman with, and that he did Epic 5 with. He would look over at him during the hard times, and he would say, "Hey, Rich, that's why it's called a challenge." Yeah, I just kept thinking of that over and over again. I didn't pay any money to do this. I didn't get a medal. I got the Strava lines. I got the Strava numbers to prove it, but yeah, there's no medal hanging up on my wall next to my other ones. No like physical reminder of it, really, apart from, I mean, the soreness that I had. But even that is, that's no longer in my body either. But what does stick around is something that is a lot more important than the medal or the physical recognition of the deed. And it's that lasting feeling of accomplishment that you get. And it's that feeling of being able to overcome something that even you have the power to stop at any point. I think that when you sign up for something and you pay money, there's an incentive, and you think, well, shit, man, I paid like $100 something, $200 something to run this marathon or to do this Spartan race or whatever. If I don't finish this, like I feel like I wasted my money, because in some capacity, I'm paying for that medal. I'm paying for the ability to earn that medal, to cross that finish line, and for somebody to put that medal around my neck. And that's not a bad thing. I think that in modernity, we are looking for things to test ourselves. Back in the day, in the early days of Homo sapiens, we would struggle day in and day out. Every single day was an endurance test. The mental endurance to survive in the wilderness, in the safari, the physical endurance required to run down an antelope, the social endurance to coexist with members of the tribe that we are within. There are so many things that we are lacking these days that really give us that sense of accomplishment. And I think that's part of the reason why we, or some people at least, sign up for these things. It's not that life is too easy, because I think that we should be able to pursue whatever we want to pursue as long as we're not hurting anybody else. And it's a much better thing that people are signing up to do an endurance race than they are not signing up for and being forced to run 20 miles across the safari in hopes that they will finally catch the antelope that's been running from them for 2 days straight, because they are on an empty stomach and they have no water and no food for their tribe. It's good. Modernity is good. And it's not a bad thing that we are finding new ways to challenge ourselves. It's just interesting to me, because when I think about my own experience, beyond all the psychoanalytical stuff I mentioned earlier, it's just, I think that I have always felt that I've never really been that good at anything. Really just like an imposter syndrome. Like everything that I've ever tried to do, I was always kind of like mediocre at. And I think as I've sort of explored what like success and what accomplishment means to me personally, I've come to understand that for me, it's not about being better than, the other people. It's not really as much about the competitive edge, even though that does itch me every once in a while. Like it is hard for me sometimes to see people who they have more free time than I do, so they can train more, and then they have like a lot faster times than me. I'm not going to act like I'm not a human being and that stuff doesn't bother me sometimes, but I am very quick to rein myself in and to remind myself that, we're all on our own journey. And as long as I'm doing the best that I can do, as long as I'm trying my hardest and not dawdling between tasks, I think that that's the most that I can ask from myself. It's not really about being the best as much as it is about, being a better version of myself. Like thinking about not just who I am, but who I'm becoming, and thinking about how not only can I use these mental or these endurance tasks, these endurance challenges as a physical challenge, but also a mental challenge and a way for me to transfer that sense of accomplishment and that like sense of or not really sense, but that understanding that if I can be better at this stuff, like if I can run for 6 hours instead of only being able to run for 30 minutes, or if I can run for, 50K instead of just being able to run a mile, that in itself to me is indicative of the fact that I can change in any other section of my life. I don't have to remain in the same spot in any way, shape, or form. I think that, like I was saying earlier, that's something that fitness can really, really illuminate for a lot of people. I almost hate saying that because it comes off as like this bro science type like life hack bullshit, but there are so many things that consistent exercise and physical challenges can teach you about what it means to change who you are, to not only change what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, but like true behavior change, because behavior change is identity change. And the more that you are doing things that are the opposite of who you are, the more you are changing into the person that embodies those things that you're doing, if that makes sense. Because if you are doing the actions of person B while you are person A, you are slowly turning into person B and turning away from person A. It's like that thing that James Clear says in Atomic Habits, where he's like, every decision you make is a step in the direction of the person that you want to become. I think about that so much because there are so many times where, and I'm not perfect, like I struggle to fucking fold my own laundry sometimes, and I talk about that all the time on this channel. There are so many times where I'm like, I don't want to do that, and then that pops into my head. Or the saying, like, who are you becoming? Not just who you are, but who are you becoming? The person that you want to be is really the person that you should be. If the person that you want to be is off in the distance, then they are the person that's going to have the habits, that's going to have the behaviors of the person that you should be. We're getting kind of like roundabout here, and we're kind of deviating away from the whole 50K thing, but I really just wanted this to be a sort of overarching view on not just the run itself, the challenge itself, but also my thinking around doing something like that. Like, why would somebody want to do that? But to get a little bit more concrete about the challenge itself, I'd never done an ultramarathon before. This was something that I got all my info about just from reading. Like, just reading not only this book, which has helped me tremendously, Training for the Uphill Athlete. This book is kick-ass. Like, it is a Bible for this sort of stuff. It's got like aerobic charts. It's got like look at this. Look, it's got like lactate threshold charts. It's got details about zone training, RPE, like what kind of training you should do for a specific type of mountaineering, for like schemo. It's a gnarly book, but it has been super helpful. I will say it's a bit dense, but I think it's one of those ones where you could easily go to the index, like I have done many times, find a certain keyword, and then go to that page, read it, maybe take some notes on it, and then implement it into the training. Aside from that, there's a Instagram account that I follow called Ultra Running Nutrition, I believe. Her name is Julie. I forget her last name, but all she does is content on nutrition for ultra runners. I took countless screenshots. I've watched a ton of her videos, and just basically taking her advice off of her reels and all that off Instagram and implementing that into my run. I would eat like one of these control bars. I would eat a couple of these honey stingers. For gels, I would use these two Go gels, the mixed berry and the apple cinnamon from BPN. I'm hard pressed to find any gels that are better than these. I don't like the mango one. I don't really like mango in general though. But dude, this apple cinnamon one, this is fucked. Like, this is so good. I can't believe this is real. And then I think more than anything else, these Nature's Bakery fig bars, which I found through Ultra Running Nutrition's Instagram, have also been a lifesaver for me. I will say though, you should have something to drink with these. They can get a little dry, especially, you know, when you're like 20 miles in or something. And then speaking of the like drinks, a couple different electrolyte formulas. This stuff from Tailwind I really like. It is super, super light on the flavor, which may or may not be a good thing for you. I don't know. I liked it later on in the run because I don't know what this is. I'm sure there's like some physical reason for it in the body, but I just did not want anything like 20 plus 25 plus miles in. I didn't want anything with a lot of flavor. So especially like these control bars, way too sweet. I think that I would have rather had something more salty at that point. But yeah, this stuff is great. I've probably been using this G1M Sport stuff from BPN for like 2 years at this point. This is the lemon lime. Their electrolytes are great too. The salted watermelon is amazing. That can get a little overpowering too, but I think that if you just do like, you know, less of the powder, it's a lot better, or more water, of course. And then I used for like the bottle, I didn't use a running vest. I plan to use that for my 50 mile though, because I can't just like access my car like at any time like I did during the 6 hour. I have a Nathan soft flask that's like 14 ounces or like 400 milliliters, something like that. Metric, right? It's super small. Like I think it's maybe protrudes like this far above my hand and like maybe like this far below. Super, super small, has like a hand strap on the back. And that is extremely useful. I ran with that probably like every other lap. I would run with it one lap, drop it off at my car, and then grab it again. Like I would put water, electrolytes, whatever I needed in it. And then I also ate some of my overnight oats the morning of. I made those the night before. You can go to like my Instagram. I have a video of myself making the overnight oats if you're curious about what I put in mine and like how I make them and all that. I show the whole thing. I also made a couple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I made a peanut butter and honey sandwich. And I gotta say that hit. Like, and I think that's that flavor that I really preferred. And I think I ate that around like 25 miles. And I was just like, dude, this is good stuff. Also, I had 1 can of Sprite and I drank that after I was done. And I don't think I've ever had a drink, it definitely a soda, that tasted that fucking good. Like, I think if I was on my deathbed when I finished that the sugar and the flavor in that Sprite revitalized me. Like self-revive, quick revive, everything. Like I had the med vest on. It was like insane. Sorry, that's a Warzone reference. If you don't get it, you don't get it. That's pretty much it for nutrition. I'm still kind of thinking I'm going to do something similar for the 50-mile race. There are so many different things that you can eat, and I just don't want to like try anything too crazy because you want to eat stuff that your body's used to, because then you'll, and I learned this from that woman's Instagram, but you just don't want any surprises. It's like train how you race, right? Like you're not going to wear a new pair of shoes that you've never worn before on a race, or you're not going to wear a new pair of shorts, or like you don't want to do anything you're not used to, because then your body's going to be, whoa, man, we're running 30 miles and you got a different pair of socks on that you've never worn before from a different brand. No, man, we're not doing that. I hope that the things that I've said have made some sense, maybe motivated you to sign up and try and do some hard things for yourself. Really try and develop that toughness, that resilience. When you're doing difficult things, when you train yourself to react to those things by putting yourself through them, you experience stressful situations, but you see them more as challenges rather than threats, right? Because that threat response is going to be pretty visceral. I mean, we are made, like I said earlier, we are made to react to things in that way. Like our amygdala is like fucking firing. We're like fight or flight, just boom, get out of there or get in there. When you can remain calm and have peace of mind and be present in the moment in those challenging situations, that's the thing that's going to get you through those events. That's the thing that's going to really build up that resilience in yourself. I think that we all, myself included, have areas of our life where we wish we were tougher. And I don't mean toughness as in a masculine sense, like a macho bravado sense. I mean that we can't expect people we can't expect to be tough or resilient really right off the bat. We have to, it's like being thrown into the deep end of a pool and learning how to swim. That, while some people might agree that that is the way to teach somebody how to swim, we have to actually teach them how to swim first. There are so many people that think they have to muscle their way through whatever it is they're doing, when really a lot of people could benefit from just starting and doing a little bit at a time, because a step forward is still a step forward. It doesn't have to be a leap or a bound or really even a full step. It could be a half step. Every single paddle in the pool is you getting closer to learning how to swim. For the longest time, I really thought that I had to start where everybody else was after them practicing for 10 years. It's like, why can't I run as fast as this person? Or why am I not as good of an athlete as that person? I didn't want to start where I was. And if me talking about this helps at least one person, then that's really all I'm going for here. You are very, very capable, so much more capable of things than you believe you are. That is one of the main takeaways from all of this too. Not only for myself, but really for anybody that does anything that might surprise them, because we have these preconceived notions about our limits, and almost all of them are wrong. Not to be a weeb and to use an overused reference, but so many people are like Rock Lee with the ankle weights, but they don't know they have the ankle weights on. And I'm not talking about his work ethic here. I'm just talking about the restrictions of the weights, because so many people walk around and they're feeling heavier in a metaphorical sense, and they're feeling weighed down and pulled back more than they actually are. And when you finally realize that those ankle weights are on, just take them off. Fucking take them off. Start doing that thing. Like, take the first step without the weights on, and you will realize how capable you have actually been this whole entire time. And you will wonder why you've been walking around with all that extra weight your whole entire life. And one more thing, I really couldn't do this all without the help of my girlfriend. She not only supports me through every single challenge that I put myself through, whether she's hanging out on the sidelines or she'll make dinner on a night where I train and I am just so tired because I get home from work and I really just don't want to cook. And that is really important, because nobody can do anything by themselves. When you think like, oh, like I'm self-made, like I did all this by myself, I'm the fucking best, man. Nobody can stop me. Nobody's self-made. Nobody does anything by themselves. And the sooner you realize that the best network is a loving and caring support network around you, the better off you will be. Not just with training and doing hard things, putting yourself through challenges, but really just in life. You're going to be way better off. I guess if there were some bullet points for this, I would say sign up for that hard thing, realize that you are way more capable than you think you are. Embrace failure. See it as a constructive way to really pull the blinders off and to see where you can improve. Be honest with yourself. Sign up for something that seems extremely difficult but not impossible. It should make you a little bit scared. I'm scared for the 50-mile race. Don't act like I'm not gonna act like I'm like, oh dude, I know all about this stuff now. All right, dude, I'm not Andy Glaze or somebody like that. I don't run 100 miles every week for like 10 years straight. It feels fucking good to do this stuff. It really does. It feels good to challenge yourself. And I mean, really, it feels even better to complete it. But at the end of the day, you complete it and you move on to the next thing, because all the learning that I'm talking about, all the lessons, they're not even in the race. They're in the training. Everything is on the climb, not at the peak. So with that being said, I appreciate you for listening. Appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.